Hello and welcome to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whiskey blog. I'm Andy and this is Whiskey Review 121. What I have for you today is an Islay single malt Scotch whiskey. It's from an independent bottler. It's this, North Star Chaos. And there it is, very, very fetching label, very fetching design, as the rest of the North Star range tends to be. Now, this is batch one. This is the first release. It came out roughly a month ago. So you're looking at around August time. Now, North Star Chaos is named Chaos after the star of the same name. You tend to find that their bottlings are named after stars and constellations, which is pretty cool. And the branding's really nice as well. In particular, this one's really quite nice. This is bottled at 50%. It is non-chill filtered and it is natural colour. Limited edition number one, 1,200 bottles in total. So there you go, there's the 50%. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, there's the colour in the bottle, and there is the colour in the glass right there. Now, this is actually a vatting of 3 casks, 2 2010 PX casks and a 2009 Hogshead, all of which were sourced from Caol Ila distillery. So this is effectively a 10-year-old Caol Ila, or 11-year-old, depending on when the 2009 was. Well, no, 10-year-old, because you've got 2010 in there, I do apologise. So, again, there is your colour. Some nice legs on the glass there. I'm going to try it with and without water. Again, it's 50%, which is a nice round number. So I just want to get a bit of an experience of both sides of it. And we are going slightly autumnal now here in Lancashire. And it's starting to get to the weather where I really start enjoying my peated drams again. So, on the nose without water, North Star Chaos, here we go. Ooh. I've got to say, it's a lovely balance between that PX and that Hogshead that's been added in there as well. It's not too sweet, it is not too astringent. Really nice depth to it. Very well rounding, very soft, well balanced. Getting ginger, caramelised brown sugar. You've got a very atypical Caol Ila peat and that lovely smokiness in there. There is also a little bit of citrus and a slight hit of salinity, which also cuts through some of that kind of sweeter, sugary flavour that I mentioned initially. It doesn't smell like 50%. It does not nose at 50% for me. It's already very, very approachable, very well balanced for the strength. I think the only other thing I'd possibly say about this is some sort of maybe boiled sweet note in there, something quite sweet, but you've got that salinity in there. There's a little bit of a herbal note, a bit of herbaceousness about it. Very, very nice example of Caol Ila already. On the palate again at 50%. Let's see where it takes us. Lovely, very, very, very well put together dram. Without water, it's initially very spicy. There's a little bit of heat into the finish, and I will talk more about the flavours on the palate in a minute, but in the finish I'm getting this lovely meaty, peppery, like white pepper sort of quality to it. The finish is long, it's warming, it is spicy, it is sweet, it is very, very nice indeed. The peat makes itself known so early on. Sometimes with peated whiskies, you get a few seconds before the peat suddenly bursts out like that. And not an explosion as such, but a surge, whereas this is immediate. That's not to say it's overpoweringly smoky. It's not. It's actually very, very well balanced. However, for me, the peat lends a very earthy quality to it straight away. A very, very good mouthfeel as well. Certainly helps this. Very oily and thick. That earthy quality links in with that herbaceous notes that I mentioned from the nose. And for me, they go really, really well together. There's a tiny little bit of sweetness after that initial peat hit. The smoke is quite prevalent throughout, but again, it's not overpowering. This is not an octomore, for example, which is pure sweet peat. It's a very, very well balanced whiskey indeed. This really is, guys. This is very, very good stuff. Right, I'm going to add a little bit of water now. So bear with me because I forgot my spoon. I'll be back in a minute. Spoon. Right, let's try again, shall we? So I've got about that much left, so I'm probably going to add about maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon to that. Maybe a full one actually, just to see what it does. And there we go. Some people, again, you'll use a pipette. Some people use little water jugs. I just like using a teaspoon for convenience, to be honest with you. Give that a bit of a swirl, because we all know how that goes. One thing I've not addressed with this yet, this pretty much flew off the shelves when it got released, mainly because North Star, for a start, are a very, very good independent bottler indeed. They have some fantastic whiskey. Also, it was so well priced. It was priced around £45, or between 39 and 45, I think, from memory. And I did something that I've not done with many releases before. I don't hoard whiskey. I'm not one of those people that goes out and buys 10 bottles of something, drinks one, puts the rest aside and then sells them. However, with this one, I tried a bottle and I enjoyed it that much that I actually bought another 3 afterwards. So I do have 4 bottles of this in a minute, well, 3.5 technically. Because it's so affordable and it's really, really good quality. And I really like Caol Ila. I really like Caol Ila, I do. You know, I know everyone's got their sort of pet Isla distillery. Ardbeg is a very, very, very popular one. You've got Boonhaven as well. Again, I'm a fan. I'm a Bruichladdich fan as well. Lafroig, Lagavulin, etc. And I think Caol Ila, arguably, I'm not going to say it gets overlooked because it's the biggest distillery in Ireland. You know, they've got the biggest capacity, and a lot of their stock is matured not on Islay, but on the mainland. It's shipped over. So the only sense that it's an Islay whiskey in a lot of ways is that it's actually distilled there. It's not matured there a lot of the time. However, for me, it's really consistent. I love the spirit type. I love the characteristics. It's affordable as a rule. You will find a lot of Caol Ila on the market that is very well priced. Carnmore, for example, at the moment have released some really good sort of sub 12-year-old independent bottled Caol Ilas, and they are really, really nice. Check those out. So yeah, long story short, I've got a few of these. Let's see what it's like with water. Oh wow, okay. Well, that water has really sweetened that nose. I mentioned ginger before without the water, but this is like candied ginger. We've got cola cubes, we've got boiled sweets, you've got licorice. Oh, wow. Salted toffee. Quite nutty as well. And I think for me, there's not quite as much of a herbaceous quality about it. It's still a little bit earthy, but it's not as much. The citrus comes out a little bit earlier on the nose with water. And the peat is pretty quiet. It's not in your face. It doesn't smell particularly smoky. It's in the background. It's a bit like when you visit a coastal town. Like I go to Cornwall a lot in the little villages around there. And at night, you've got the sea spray coming in. And in winter in particular, you've got coal smoke because everyone still burns coal because they've all got coal fires. And there's a really nice undertone of that for me. Very, very nostalgic. On the palate with water. Still got a good mouthfeel. There's still that initial spiciness and that initial hit of peat, but again, it's still quite earthy. It's herbaceous. You've got kind of, it's not brackish, I'd say. It's not, I wouldn't say it's brackish, but it's still, there's something bitter in going into the finish, but then it sweetens. Caramel. Bay leaf, interestingly. Bit of toffee. And the peat, the smokiness is there again. It's slightly tempered. It is slightly tempered. I think a lot of people use the phrase like beach bonfire and things like that. It is a little bit like sort of chewing on pencil, the top of the pencil. It's a bit woody, but not in a bad way. I mean, again, it's still quite vibrant. There's no hint of sulphur in there. There's a nice sort of meatiness to it again going into that finish. Overall, a very dynamic, very well put together, very affordable, good quality, no nonsense whiskey. And if you can still get hold of this, guys, I would recommend you check it out if you can. I think it's still available in some shops, possibly, like you sort of not your usual suspects like Master and Malt, but I think like Nichols and Perks might have a couple. And yeah, try and seek it out. North Star as well, if you've not tried those before, have a look. They've got a really good range, very, very affordable when you're looking at 40-year-old whiskies at the release, for example, at about £120. A lot of money, but for a 40-year-old whiskey in this market, there's 18-year-olds that go for that, guys. So, you know, that's saying something. So again, that has been the review of the North Star Chaos. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. I'm going to box it off now. See you soon.